Many variables. Could we have finally a new winner? Here's the 5 red lights. The green flag is at the back. You know what happens now. It's lights out, and away we go, go, go. And it looks like Sainz is going to much better start of the line, and there's Verstappen as well, down the inside of Jackson. He didn't look like he got up very well. He's going to recover in the second over the corner, and it looks like he's around the outside, and he looks like he's better sector. Back into the lead goes Jackson. But that's exactly what Jackson needed. He's leading for the front. He actually recovered to be Sainz. Oh my word, holy dive bomb from Yuki Tsunoda there. Who's in Bahrain? I wonder if that will be discussed, but I think I heard a wall hit there. There's Perez, also looking down the inside of his teammate Max Verstappen. No team orders a Red Bull. Jackson retaliates down into turn 1 and takes back the lead. You've got Sergio Perez at the end of the second lap, taking the lead from Jackson. But Jackson's going to go down the inside into turn 3. Oh, it's a tight squeeze. And Perez gives him the room, and Jackson gives him the room as well. But as Jackson pointed out, it's already his fault. There was Perez going down the inside, and I think he hit the wall there. And here's Max Verstappen racing side by side with Carlos Sainz. Did he get third? This is how he got third. And look at that. That's the advantage that Red Bull has in a straight line. And now we're going to cut to a battle between Hamilton and Alonso. And there was slight contact there that put Hamilton out of shape. Did Charles Leclerc take the advantage and pass Hamilton? He did into the chicane. There's Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen going side by side as well. This is for the championship. And Charles Leclerc is going to get ahead, I guess. He's still going to fight for the lead. Jackson's taking it back. And Max Verstappen out of shape, and Charles Leclerc has taken third. So, Perez, he locked up. That's what happened then. Perez has been struggling with his brakes so far this season. Contact. Perez now down to 4th. He's gone behind Verstappen. Has he got a broken front wing, maybe? He has. He's coming in to change it.
Right here. Perez has just pitted behind you for a front wing change. It is all clear behind you now, mate. 2 seconds to Leclerc. Bring this home. I got it, buddy.
This time, it's not against the odds. This time, it's on his terms. Aiden Jackson is about to become a winner once again. His second in Formula 1, and is the first for Audi Sport F1 team. One more kink corner, and then he'll be able to see the checkered flag. Aiden Jackson wins the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Audi are winners in Formula 1.
Thank you, mate. Never doubted you. Aiden Jackson, you are a Grand Prix winner.
So it's time for the second returning track on the docket for the 2022 season. It's here at round 9. It's hard to believe we're already that far into the season. And it's at the famed Gilles de Villeneuve circuit here in Montreal, which is famed of course for the infamous Wall of Champions in particular, which ended the 1999 Grand Prix of Jacques Villeneuve, Damon Hill, and of course the great Michael Schumacher. A year earlier, back in 1998, we had a red flag after a turn 1 crash, with Jarno Trulli sending Alex Wurz into a barrel roll. And in 2007, Robert Kubica also suffered a similar crash down at the hairpin towards the back end of the circuit. And of course, a year later, he went on to score his one and only win in a career that at the time promised so much more. And who can forget the last time we were here back in 2019 when Sebastian Vettel crossed the line first, but received a 5-second penalty for an unsafe rejoin after running round at turn 3, which forced Hamilton almost into the wall, and it gave Hamilton the win. And then Vettel proceeded to swap the finishing boards at the end of the race. Aaron Henwood, it sure is good to be back here, isn't it? Oh, it sure is, Chaos. We have certainly missed the place, and what a prospect we have for today's race, with both championship contenders on the front row after their tug-of-war battle in Azerbaijan, in which Charles prevailed and cut into Max's lead in the standings to just 7 points. But of course, the big main story from Baku was the first win for Audi Sport and the second for Aiden Jackson, thus putting him 4th now in the driver's standings ahead of both Mercedes. The team, of course, he's their reserve driver. Contrast that, sadly, with the other side of the Audi garage, however, where Nico Hulkenberg has failed to score for the 8th race in a row. And he may not score any points here either, as he'll start 21st on the grid after another power unit penalty. His bad luck shows no sign of stopping. Audi have stated that they are fully behind him, but he certainly needs to be bringing in the points on a regular basis from here on if Audi hope to challenge Mercedes for 3rd in the constructors. They are getting closer, but it's been Jackson bringing in all the points, of course, for the last 8 races. But I think I speak for everyone here when I say let's hope Nico can find his form again soon. Audi certainly need him back amongst the points. Well, let's get down to business then for the 2022 Canadian Grand Prix. The Gilles Villeneuve circuit debuted in 1978, where Gilles won for Ferrari. 6 of Michael Schumacher's 7 wins here, which was a record equaled by Lewis Hamilton in 2019, were also for Ferrari. So it's always been a good hunting ground for them, despite Vettel losing his win, of course, in 2019. And speaking of the great Michael Schumacher, we're going on board with his son Mick in Haas today for a lap round this great circuit. It's good to be back in Montreal. Here is a lap at the Canadian Grand Prix on board Mick Schumacher in the Haas, whose famous father won here 7 times, once for Benetton in '94 and 6 for Ferrari. Into turn 1 and turn 2, which is really a couple of hairpins really to start off. We had an incident there in '98 which of course stopped the race after Trulli sent Wirtz into a barrel roll. Here we are with the first of a few chicanes on this circuit. Mick not looking at all comfortable through there, but maybe that's why he had the McLaren there of Daniel Ricciardo passing him on the right there. That's where Vettel and Hamilton famously had their incident back in 2019 that gave Vettel a 5-second time penalty for an unsafe rejoin, forcing Hamilton almost up against the wall. And as you can probably tell, Mick's lap has already been ruined here, and he was already 7 seconds, I think, or 3 seconds before reaching this point. Into the hairpin, where down the straight we had a humongous crash for Robert Kubica in 2007, and now here we are down the back straight. There used to be a chicane here for the drivers to navigate in the mid-90s, but it was taken out, I believe, for the 1996 race, so now it's just a very long blast into the final chicane, into the area where the Wall of Champions ended his father's race in 1999. No such bad luck here for Mick as he goes across the line, and that is a very short lap of the Canadian Grand Prix. The Canadian Grand Prix has always been one of the drivers' favourite circuits in many years gone by. So again, like Australia, after a 3-year absence, it sure is good to be back. It's round 9 of the 2022 season. Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc looking to duke it out once again as they start on the front row. Commentary from the 2022 Canadian Grand Prix, of course, surrounding Hamwood as always. Thank you, Chaos. Good afternoon, everyone, and probably a very early good evening to our British contingent, as we are on the other side of the globe, here in North America, for the return of the Canadian Grand Prix after a 3-year absence. It's one of the shortest laps on the calendar, with just a mere almost 80 seconds, give or take. 14 corners at 2.7 miles and some DRS zones to boot down the straights as well. This is a circuit where you have come to the right place if you want speed and hopeful for overtaking in these new vehicles that can follow each other more closely for longer periods of time, which has been seen this season. Maybe this could be a good advert for the new era in Formula 1. There are Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen ready to do battle. Max Verstappen going for pole position alongside Charles Leclerc, and the championship leaders will be very much keeping an eye on each other going into turn 1. We have had incident there back in 1998, of course, which had a restart after a crash involving Trulli and Wirtz barrel rolling. Here's the grid for the 2022 Grand Prix. We have Nicholas Latifi at the back today, and poor Nico Hulkenberg once again at the very back, starting 21st following power unit component changes. Vettel is followed by Esteban Ocon, who's also served a penalty, down in 19th. And then it's Alex Albon and Lance Stroll, followed by the two AlphaTauri pair. George Russell also served a penalty in his 14th. That gives Mick Schumacher his highest start of the season, and that's the case for Kevin Magnussen as well, up in 12th. The Alfa Romeo's also benefited with Zhou Guanyu going for 11th, and Bottas getting into the top 10 for the first time this season, I believe, alongside Alonso. It's the McLaren pair of Ricciardo behind Norris. Aiden Jackson continues to be stellar in qualifying. Once again, P6 continuing his magnificent consistency in qualifying this season. They're followed by Hamilton and Carlos Sainz. And on the front row, as we've said plenty of times, it's World Championship leader and World Champion Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc on the front row. Max scoring pole for the first time in a couple of races. And let's go away in the formation lap. So, Verstappen and Leclerc going for a very interesting strategy at the front on the hard tyres. Jackson starting on the mediums in P6. The outlier of the first four is Hamilton on the mediums, and Perez is going for the hards as well. So once again, Red Bull are adopting the hard tyre strategy to start the race. Mick Schumacher and Yuki Tsunoda are the two drivers starting on the soft tyres then to start this race. For Mick Schumacher, this could be a really pivotal weekend. Of course, as we've said earlier, his famous father Michael won here 7 times. So for the Canadian, good luck for this track. Aid Mick in his search for points today. He has not scored all season, along with a few others, including Nicholas Latifi and I believe the 2 Aston Martins as well, who haven't scored yet. One that hasn't scored since Bahrain, of course, is Nico Hulkenberg, and he could be going for a very unlucky streak today. This could be his 9th race without a points finish, which could be, it almost would seem disastrous at that point for Nico Hulkenberg, as Aiden Jackson almost outbreaking himself in the hairpin there, in order to let Perez back through for rejoining in the grid position. Of course, you can let your opponent back through if you do it immediately, you'll avoid a penalty, and that's why Jackson was very quick to get out of the way there. And we're expecting the medium and hard tyres to be the preferred strategy today, as you can see. One stop for this race, because tyre wear is not really a huge issue here, and I guess that's why Schumacher and Tsunoda in particular are on the soft tyres. I think Hulkenberg might be on the soft tyres at the back, but the TV timing graph didn't say that, so we've got a problem with the timing tower, it seems. No, Nico is on the mediums, that is correct. I was kind of wondering there at the back, was Hulkenberg on the softs, but it appears maybe not. Here come the 5 red lights then for the return of the Canadian Grand Prix here in 2022. And it's lights out, and away we go, and Max Verstappen is in a good start, it seems, cutting right across the Leclerc and getting right into the perfect position to take the first corner. Max Verstappen will lead. There are the Ferraris there, side by side. Did Carlos Sainz going to hit Charles Leclerc? That'll be crucial in terms of a championship. We've got 3 wide in turn 2. It's a Williams, I believe, with Albon and Stroll and Tsunoda. We've got more with 3 wide moves. Nico Hulkenberg has made 2 places already up to 19th. He's gone past Ocon as well for 18th. It's a great start by Hulkenberg, and finally it seems to have come good for him. Ocon will fight back on the inside line into chicane here. He does, and Hulkenberg unfortunately might have to concede the position because it would be a tight squeeze there. Max Verstappen already up to a 2nd lead over Charles Leclerc. He is checked out and gone. There is Jackson battling with Sergio Perez. He's lost a position because Lando Norris is up in 5th place. It was a great start by Norris. There's an Alfa Romeo. I believe it's Bottas attacking. Is it Bottas attacking Alonso, or is it Zhou attacking Schumacher and Magnussen? Have actually side by side. The Haas boys have both passed Zhou Guanyu. So Schumacher already up to 11th place, and he's had a good start as well. There is Zhou Guanyu attacking Kevin Magnussen behind him, so the Haas drivers had a good start. There's George Russell in 14th place. He's got a penalty, and that's why he's so far down. And then we're coming to the end of the first lap, and George is attacking Pierre Gasly, it seems. Pierre Gasly has really lost out, and there's George Russell passing Zhou and Magnussen as well. George Russell, fantastic manoeuvre. He got such a great exit into the chicane, avoiding the wall of champions, and did a great move, and he passed all of them, and he's up to P12. Well, Max Verstappen already half a second and a half lead now ahead of Leclerc. It was the perfect start for Max Verstappen, cutting right across to the other side of the track. No danger of that, of course. He's sweeping across. He's not doing the Schumacher panded chop, Michael Schumacher that is. And he swept across, took the racing line, and is checked out and gone. And that's him gone for the rest of this race. So here's the start from Aiden Jackson then. A bit of a bog down at the start. That's why he lost out to Norris. and Norris probably got a great entry into the first corner. There's Ricciardo, and it was 3 wide between the two McLarens and Perez, and Norris is the man who won out here. So it's been a great start for Norris. Ricciardo almost getting the beneficiary of it as well. The McLaren's getting off the line really well, and Jackson was just left for dust. That's the first time he's lost. Oh my word, and Jackson already taking to the outside to pass Ricciardo. He was coming slow out of there, and then he almost got alongside Norris and Perez. That would have been a pretty risky move there from Jackson, but he fortunately walked better of it. That probably would have been a bit of a collision similar to Brendan Hartley had here a few years ago. And, well, it's all settled down now, and this will be Jackson going down the inside of Perez into the chicane, I would have thought. Very good braking by the... Oh, that's a great move from Jackson. So clean and consistent there. Still feeling a bit with this car. It's got its diva characteristics. Jackson just can't get a handle on it. But when it works well for Jackson. Now this is the start from Hulkenberg. And Hulkenberg is on the soft tyres. That's strange. So Hulkenberg actually is on the soft tyres. And that's probably why he got a good start at the end. There's something going on with the game there. It might be a game bug of some kind. But in any case, Hulkenberg did make the best of the soft tyres and got into about 18th place, I believe, down the inside of Esteban Ocon, who suffered a penalty and was started, I think it was 19th. And unfortunately, Hulkenberg didn't have the grip there to get ahead of Ocon in that instance. I guess he was held up a bit by the AlphaTauri of Sonoda, and that would probably be why. And Ocon able to hold it round the outside. You'd expect it to be a bit more of a closer contest between those two. Audi are definitely in the midfield pack this season, and Jackson has certainly shown that. And DRS is enabled as we've come on to lap 3, and Aiden Jackson now is challenging Lando Norris. He's got more into this race now. Jackson has a place to make up. He's back where he started, so he passed Perez as we saw earlier on. The DRS enabled, it should help him to keep up with Norris. I think that this is actually a DRS zone that was added for this year, down this straight here before a chicane. Hamilton is holding on to Carlos Sainz there. We saw the Ferraris side by side into the opening corners, and Leclerc pulled out ahead, and that's crucial in terms of the championship. I've said for the championship a few times as Norris locked up, and Jackson takes full advantage up into P5. I know I've said for the championship a couple of times already this season, when that's not really the case, but it is crucial for the championship in terms of who will have the championship lead. Currently it's Max Verstappen, and currently it looks like staying that way because Max Verstappen has checked out at the front. Mick Schumacher, meanwhile, is being pressurised by Zhou Guanyu, and that's going to be a move into the chicane, and Schumacher's going to hold it out. Credit to him. Magnussen's going to catch up as well. It's going to be 3 wide, almost 4 going into turn 1 then, and this is going to show Zhou Guanyu getting a bit out of shape, and fortunately there was no crash, and Magnussen's having to hold off Gasly. George Russell was flown by this lot already out to P11. George Russell having another stunning race in the middle of the pack, and as Schumacher held it in, yes he has. Mick Schumacher going for a race today. He's certainly giving us a race to win this, at least. The Haas isn't really as powerful as we know, and finally Zhou Guanyu gets ahead, but he was made to work for that one. Great racing there by Schumacher early on in this race. Certainly looks up for it, but is the car for it? Probably not, unfortunately. But Kevin Magnussen is going to try and hold off Pierre Gasly. We've got Lance Stroll, Esteban Ocon and Nico Hulkenberg in here as well. Hulkenberg is now stalled a bit in 18th place. He's not really making the inroads on the cars ahead that he probably should. Max Verstappen 2 seconds now ahead of Charles Leclerc already, and it looks like being one of those where Max Verstappen turns the race into a procession, and we're forced to look elsewhere for buzzers on the track. Meanwhile, Aiden Jackson is still 6th. We've got Lewis Hamilton here, right on the back of Carlos Sainz. And let me tell you something, I think Mercedes definitely have improved since Spain. We know that they bought huge upgrades to the Spanish Grand Prix, and they worked wonders. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Mercedes win a race this year, because they certainly look the part. George Russell is definitely making use of the newest package, up in P11 already, and chasing down Valtteri Bottas. He's now in DRS range of Bottas, according to the time tower. So Mercedes definitely looking strong here. But Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc are racing away at the front, particularly Max Verstappen. Charles has gained a 10th on him so far, and I think it's going to be rather superfluous, to be honest. And, Jackson, can he stick with Lewis Hamilton here? And I think Jackson has beaten both Mercedes drivers in the majority of races this season. I think about 4 of them. and he's looking up to do it again. And what must Mercedes be thinking? They loaned out this kid to another team because, you know, there was no real room at Mercedes for him other than reserve driver, and then he was loaned out to Audi for this season, and it's Audi that are benefiting from getting ahead of them, and now they're the closest contenders in the Constructors' Championship. Who knows, if Nico Hulkenberg had been able to score more points, maybe Audi would be third by now. It's very unfortunate for Hulkenberg's case that he's not bringing the points. This will be his 9th straight finish without a point to his name. He hasn't scored since Bahrain 8 races ago. And there was, is that Mick Schumacher or Kevin Magnussen challenging Pierre Gasly? It is. Schumacher actually is ahead of these two by 2 seconds. So he is getting some gap, but unfortunately, looks like Schumacher's going to have another race where he just can't creep into the points. Schumacher's another one who's been really unfortunate, to be fair. Because the Haas definitely is better, let's face it. And was that Aiden Jackson battling Lando Norris there? Looks like Jackson is far behind a little bit. I wonder if we're going to replay of that. Because he seems to have fell off behind Hamilton a little bit now. And he did, and wow, he got absolutely swamped by Norris. I wonder if he had a bad exit coming out of the corner. Oh, Norris actually cuts it and runs out of space. Did Aiden Jackson put 2 left wheels off the track there? I wonder if he did. It happened really fast, so I have to get a more of a slow motion replay, but there's nothing on race control at the moment that Jackson's being looked at for track limits. Doesn't look like it. And Norris, well, he went too deep into the corner, that's why Jackson got the position back. So I guess he was ahead by the time he'd run off the road. I don't think he really... It's something like Martin Brundle would say. He didn't lose a place, but he didn't gain one, which is pretty much the same thing. I kind of agree with that, to be fair. Charles Leclerc does take that chicane perfectly, but it's going to mean nothing because he is, well, it's going to be status quo here because Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc are the 2 drivers on the hard tyres, and they're actually getting away from those challenging them. Oh, and Aiden Jackson looked pretty close to Lewis Hamilton there, but unfortunately I'm not going to get to see it. George Russell was already caught up to the back of Bottas, as you said earlier. He's not really past him yet. What are these 2 on? Both on mediums, I believe. And lap 7. It's gone by in a flash so far. And will George Russell be able to get a point here? He's going to have another race where he's had to make a comeback fight. And he's certainly the man to do it. And Jackson holding on to back to Lewis Hamilton. He's caught to the back of him, and now you can see Carlos Sainz as well. Could we see Aiden Jackson in 4th place at some point during this race? As Schumacher's passed Zhou Guanyu for 12th. That's because Zhou Guanyu is in the pits. Oh, that's an early stop. Lap 7 for the soft tyres. Wow, that is bad, and that's going to be bad for Nico Hulkenberg as well, because that means he's probably not far of a pit stop either. And the same for Tsunoda. So the soft tyres were not the way to go early in this race, and it looks like Hulkenberg and Tsunoda, who are the other 2 drivers running the soft tyres, are going to be coming in sometime soon. Although it looks like more like Tsunoda's on the mediums. And I'm really confused. The tyre tower did not display the tyres correctly, or I didn't see it. Either way, I probably messed up. Anyway, Max Verstappen is leading by 2.2 seconds ahead of Leclerc. He's checked out at the front. The most intriguing battle on the track is right here, right now. Aiden Jackson. Lewis Hamilton beat Aiden Jackson once again. He's been doing a lot of Aiden Jackson this season, and I'm pretty sure he's getting sick of the sight of him, but Aiden Jackson is just a persistent man that won't go away. So Hamilton is now locked in combat with a man that could replace him at some point in Mercedes in the near future, unless Audi can get some deal going. Maybe their new Connosport partnership. We're hearing rumours that Audi have got big announcements for the summer break, actually. It's not just going to be the reveal of the Connosport partnership. There's other things in the plan as well. Rumour has it, as Hulkenberg comes into the pits, looks pretty clean and pretty safe stop. Rumour has it that Audi may be preparing to bring new engines, their own, for 2023, which would be 3 years ahead of schedule. It certainly seems that Audi's recent rise to prominence is certainly helping them in other departments they lacked at the beginning of the season. If that is true, that's remarkable work from the Audi power unit engineering team, or something you like to call it. And well, they are on the rise at the moment. They are race winners. with Aiden Jackson. They are pole sitters with Aiden Jackson. They are podium scorers with Aiden Jackson, all with Aiden Jackson, mind you. They also scored points with Hulkenberg back in Bahrain. But now, they could be 3 years ahead of schedule on their engine department. They've got a Connosport brand deal coming in. And they've also got one of the best crews in the world in Raven West in their pit crew. So, they are certainly a team on the rise, and it would be absolutely remarkable if Audi were to bring their engines forward by 3 years. It certainly is, I think having Mercedes backing for this opening season has definitely helped them in that department as well. You know, Mercedes do all the engines for the current season, allowing Audi to work on their future ones. And, well, as we probably have said at some point this season, what will this mean for Audi's impending deal with Sauber? Will they even take that offer now? Because Alfa Romeo certainly haven't looked the part this year, barely scoring until I think it was a couple of races ago or last time out in Azerbaijan. But if they can hold on to this man, Aiden Jackson, who's to say they can't do more? Will they challenge for a championship? I think they're still a bit behind on the championship. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Audi still have a bit of a ways to go. But certainly bringing their engines forward by 3 years would certainly be quite the coup, considering Audi's roadmap has been really shortened by a number of years already. They're already here, and they were supposed to be here in 2026. Now they can bring their engines forward. So, wow. Watch this space, because Audi, Connosport, which will be known as next year, could be a team to watch. Maybe even next year, perhaps. We'll have to see how good that Audi engine is, if it is coming to fruition, of course. It's only just rumours right now, but that is the big thing. They're going to announce huge things at the summer break, very much like they did, I believe it was last year, when they revealed this livery. Of course, they didn't really get the go-ahead until January, with the entry into the sport. And they came in on their own accord, made the season 22 drivers. So I wonder what that will mean. Will they get a stake in Sauber as well as the stake with Connosport and others? Aiden Jackson still chasing Lewis Hamilton down on lap 11, and the soft tyre runners have really suffered in the early phase of this race. I don't think Tsunoda was one of them. So I think there was a problem with the tyre descriptions there at the beginning of the race on the formation lap. And Max Verstappen here just cruising, the world champion and the championship leader, in absolutely cruise control mode. It's his favourite kind of situation, leading from the front with no real challenges in front or behind. Although Max Verstappen, to be fair to him, has had stunning drives through the field before. So it's not something that, defines him too much. He's already had stunning races through the field, much like Lewis Hamilton, for example. Aiden Jackson has also done it. A few of those drivers who are cutters through the field. And that's George Russell on the side of the track. He's out of the race. And that's a power unit failure for Mercedes then. That's interesting. And here's the replay then. What happened to George? Just lost power. That's a worrying sign. Don't normally see that very often. From 2014 to 2020, the Mercedes was more or less bulletproof, even for the second driver. But here, not so for George Russell. There's going to be no safety car or virtual safety car involved. They've cleared that away. And we have a few more laps to go yet. The medium tyre runners are certainly benefiting from this phase of the race, because they are still on their tyres, and the hard tyre runners are going to be even better off. So the soft tyres were definitely not the choice for the start of this race. And likes of Hulkenberg, Tsunoda and Zhou Guanyu have lost out. And there's Aiden Jackson down the inside. Lewis Hamilton's made it stick. Brilliant move by Aiden Jackson to the fourth. Now, can Aiden keep with the Ferrari here? He's been able to do so far. That's another stunning move by Aiden Jackson. Is Lewis Hamilton going to try something in the chicane? Absolutely not. Let's see who gets the better exit out of the chicane. And both drivers have DRS, but Jackson has to pull to the side. He gives Hamilton space into the first corner, and Hamilton gets it back. He's certainly in a bit more of a fighting move this afternoon, Lewis Hamilton. He does not want to finish behind Aiden Jackson yet again. And he's giving him a fight this time around. Good to see. 7-time world champion. Certainly not backing down from Aiden Jackson in this one. He didn't in Spain, to be fair. It's going to be vintage Jackson into the hairpin here, like he did on Perez. So far out, he catches Hamilton completely unawares. But Hamilton was probably focusing on Sainz, to his credit. Sort of a late braking move by Jackson, but he's clean again. And look at this. Audi certainly have some drag on that car. I think that's quite evident, to be fair. Once again, following cars is Audi's strength. And it really proved there. Even with DRS, Hamilton was able to pass into the final zone on the track. Now, Aiden Jackson has caught back up to him again, and I think he's going to get DRS down the back straight here. And he's suddenly waited until after the hairpin this time, gives Hamilton the space going into the chicane, pushes him a little bit towards the wall, but nothing really dangerous there, side by side. Jackson makes it stick. A brilliant move, yet again, by Aiden Jackson. But now, what's going to happen here? This time, Jackson's actually going to keep the position with both cars having DRS. That's interesting. And Jackson's been struggling for traction out of the hairpin corners this weekend. But there, he looked rather stuck to the road. Audi haven't got the strongest chassis on the grid. And I think that's evident by Jackson having to adapt for a little bit to the looseness of the car. I think it's probably rear downforce where Audi are somewhat struggling. Downforce traction, that is. That's why Jackson is having to correct the car into fast and maybe out of slow corners, per se. And right here, right now, he's feeling it again. But he's a second behind Sainz now. And I don't think anyone is catching Leclerc and Max Verstappen anyway. So, run your race behind, because you're not catching these two, because they're on another planet. And Max Verstappen probably more so in another stratosphere at the moment. To increase his championship lead, record to 14 points, I believe. The results stayed like this. And there's Alex Albon battling with Zhou Guanyu here. I guess it's Zhou Guanyu making a bit of a comeback drive, because he did have to pit for a second set of dry compound tyres as the pit stops begin. Aiden Jackson on lap 15 is it. And he's clear out, very much clear of Hamilton in the pit lane. And away he goes. Hamilton has also pitted, as has Daniel Ricciardo. Mick Schumacher has gone on, I think. Yes, he has. Is he going to get into P10 ahead of the Alpine? Sadly, no. Although he has beaten Ocon, to be fair. Although Ocon is coming through the field because he started 19th. So Schumacher now is in the points. It won't last much longer because he still has to pit. Every time Schumacher seems on the verge of points, something happens to him. And when you realise, oh no, he can't score because he's got to make a pit stop or whatever. Poor Mick Schumacher's been an unlucky man this year. He's been very much level with Kevin Magnussen this year, though. You expect a man of Magnussen's spirits to be comfortably ahead. Not so. Mick Schumacher's certainly made his name in that Haas car. Although there are rumblings that Gunther Steiner isn't particularly happy with the fact that Schumacher is just not scoring at this very moment. And we've lost the screen. Why have we lost the screen? I don't know what happened there. I don't know whether it was a pause or something. It actually would have been something on my computer. That's probably what happened. But in any case, we've got the screen back now, and Norris is in the pits for McLaren. I think I know why that happened. There was probably a pop-up for something on the screen. So I had to probably kind of get rid of that. And I forgot to... yeah, that's obviously for the loss of the blank screen there, so I do apologise for that. Anyway, Aiden Jackson is now back ahead of Lando Norris, but Norris has benefited from the overcut a little bit and got ahead of Hamilton. And speaking of harsh drivers, Mick Schumacher's in the pits for a set of hard tyres. And that is that rule fulfilled. And now Lewis Hamilton is racing Lando Norris down the inside of chicane. Oh my word, what a lunge. Blimey. Lewis Hamilton is not messing about today. That's a great move on Lando Norris, to be fair. Lewis Hamilton came to race today. He comes to race every day, to be fair to him. It's not something that's not old. Hamilton always comes to race. That's why he's a 7-time world champion in the world of Formula 1. And Nico Hulkenberg up in P13. Now, he'll probably have to pit again. What tyres is he on? Not really sure. He's on the medium tyres. Now, he put those on lap 7, so I have a bad feeling that Nico Hulkenberg is going to have to stop again, because I don't know if the tyres are going to make it to the end of this race. Because I think he put those on lap 7, because the softs were practically useless in the opening stint of this race. So unfortunate, really, because Hulkenberg is quite near the points here. Once he disposes of Esteban Ocon, it's down to him to chase the Alfa Romeos, who have both pitted, I think. So Hulkenberg has DRS on Alexander Albon then, in the Williams. I think he's going long, because he's on the hards. It should, in theory, be an easy pass, but it's not there. He's certainly right there challenging with the Williams. Alex Albon has certainly been a bit of a revelation this year, certainly back to his best. Alex Albon. It's just unfortunate that it's not really amassing in many points for Williams, but you never know. One race where all the carnage happens. Alex Albon, you'd expect him to be right there. Was rumoured to be Aiden Jackson's teammate at one point, of course. Last season Williams looked like an option, but they quickly signed Nicholas Latifi before a kind of talk could be had at the end of Jackson's loan at Haas last year. And now we've got Hulkenberg around the outside of Albon into the hairpin. Albon is going to try and stick it in, but I think his hard tyres are going to be fading a little bit. To that end, Verstappen and Leclerc still haven't pitted yet, so the hard tyres definitely were an advantage of some kind. Albon was retaliating there against Hulkenberg. Did he repass him? We don't know, because we switched to the race leader. Max Verstappen in absolute cruise control at the front, just pegging it to Leclerc and keeping him behind. Two championship leaders proving why they are the championship leaders, racing away from everyone else, as they are about 2 seconds clear of Sainz, although I think for Verstappen it's 4 clear of Sainz, because he's 2 seconds behind Leclerc, who's then 2 seconds behind Verstappen. So I think in terms of the time board, if my maths is correct, which it probably isn't, because my maths is terrible, Max is now 4 seconds clear of the rest. Is that someone coming out of the pits there, I think I heard? Or someone down at the other side of the circuit. That's probably what you're hearing there. Checo Perez has had a very lonely race. He's 6 seconds behind Sainz, and with no one particularly behind him either, because Jackson is 10 seconds behind, because Audi certainly don't have the car on pure pace of the Red Bull. That was evident in Azerbaijan, but once Perez broke his front wing, it was clear to the end for Aiden Jackson to take the win. And Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc have already lapped Nicholas Latifi in the second Williams. Albon is still 13th. Hulkenberg is now 12th. Is he catching the Alfa Romeos? Not really. And he's 2 seconds behind them. Although, to be fair to him, just as I say that, he's now brought it with under 2 seconds, now 1.8. He is catching Bottas in the Alfa Romeo. He's got his teammate ahead of him. Show Guan Yu for a point. And will the Red Bull come in? Yes, it will. So Max Verstappen has made these tyres last 20 laps, as has Leclerc. They're both coming in. So it's going to be status quo. And Carlos Sainz will now assume the lead as Max goes on the medium tyres. And it's a long way clear of Leclerc, to be fair. Now, will Perez take second? Yes, he will. And, how much is the gap going to be between Perez and Verstappen? It's not going to be that much. But I think it's going to be large enough for Red Bull not really tell Checo to slow down a bit. No need, because I think Checo will be pitting. Bottas has got ahead of Zhou Guan Yu, and Nico Hulkenberg is right there now. He's brought him within a second. Nico Hulkenberg is on the verge of points, but will his medium tyres make it to the end? So unfortunate for Hulkenberg, he's just had this terrible bad luck. It's been his penalties, really. It's not really been his qualifying, per se. It's been the penalties he suffered afterwards with all the engine failures he had a few races back. He had 2 consecutively at Imola and Miami, I believe. Imola was right towards the end of the race as well. Jackson, meanwhile, has not had anything. He's finished all the seasons all the races so far in the top 10, I think. Or was there a race that Jackson didn't score? I think he scored at Imola, which was unlikely at one point. I do believe Jackson has scored in every race so far, actually, now that I think about it. So Aiden Jackson is a marvel of consistency at the moment. And here he is again, up to P3. Is he going to beat Sainz out of the pits? He's going to be close, and he's going to beat him. Wonderfully done by Jackson, but Sainz is going to be on much better tyres, I think. And yes, he's on the mediums. He's got Hamilton all over him as well. Norris has also benefited after that as well. So now we've got a free car scrap for 4th. The question now is how long will Aiden Jackson be able to hold off Carlos Sainz for yet another podium? I think it would be his 6th of the year, wouldn't it? One in Saudi Arabia, one in Australia. One in Spain, win in Azerbaijan. So I think this would be his 4th or 5th so far, but I don't think the Audi has the overall pace of the Ferrari, so I think Jackson's not going to fight him too hard because he knows where his real battle is, and that's from behind sides with Hamilton and Norris. McLaren and Alpine have got to be really disappointed with the fact that they are not getting ahead of Audi in the Constructors' Championship, considering they've got one Audi consistently scoring as well. And there goes Carlos Sainz down the inside of turn 1. Jackson is forced to the grass. And he's going to fight it in turn 2. He's going to fight it in turn 2. But look at the exit Sainz has. Tremendous exit. Better grip on the mediums. Credit Aiden Jackson. There is no quit in this kid, in this car at the moment. There's just no quit in the psyche of Aiden Jackson. He is probably one of the most determined drivers I have ever seen since Michael Schumacher, I would believe. I mean, all these drivers are determined. They're superb athletes, of course. But Jackson, he just doesn't give something up, even when it looks almost impossible against the Ferrari, and it certainly did there. But Jackson somehow, he sadly does have to concede defeat to a car which is substantially better than Jackson in almost every metric. Although we say that, and Jackson is once again finishing ahead of the Red Bull with Perez. And that's going to be very disappointing at Red Bull, to be fair. Perez not really getting amongst the front and finishing behind Jackson on a almost regular basis. He's another one, alongside Lewis Hamilton, that's going to be pretty sick of the sight of the Audi of Aiden Jackson coming up on him. Charles Leclerc has just set the fastest lap of 1:14.7. I wouldn't expect that to be beaten for the rest of the race. Hulkenberg has dropped to 18th, so I'm assuming he's pitted for the second set of mediums because he's down in 18th now. So those original mediums did not make it to the end of the race for Nico Hulkenberg. So yeah, apologies for the loss of the screen there. I think I know why that happened. Will Aiden Jackson hold off Lewis Hamilton now? That's the question. He's doing a very good job, and it's looking pretty dark overhead all of a sudden. A lot of clouds have just rolled in. Are we going to get some rain in this Canadian Grand Prix? That'll certainly be interesting. We've not really had a lot of rain this season. In fact, I don't think we've had any, to be fair. Jackson is certainly not feeling it on these hard tyres, and Lewis Hamilton is looking to take full advantage down the inside. Oh, and they were almost touching there, Jackson and Hamilton. Hamilton's had to cut the corner there a little bit. You can see to the place just in case. Oh, Jackson is not looking comfortable on these hard tyres. And Checo Perez, speaking of him now, he's actually caught onto the back of this scrap for 4th between Jackson, Hamilton and Norris. I mean, credit Charles Leclerc, he's certainly keeping Verstappen honest at least. And Not really honest enough to challenge him today. Jackson in 4th place, chased by 3 cars with DRS ahead. Got to credit Jackson for this as well. He's got no DRS to help him from sides because he's 3 seconds behind him. And now into turn 1 again between Jackson and Hamilton. What will happen this time? The same result. Jackson has the better entry into turn 2. I think Hamilton was on the grass again. I think he's trying to use every bit of track he can get away with to try and pass Jackson at this moment. I think the sun is coming back out again. It's just a quick cloud cover here in Montreal. No rain, I think, was forecast. If it is forecast, it's probably for the end of this race. Zhou Guanyu has passed Sebastian Vettel for a very low-key 16th place. Very unfortunate for Alfa Romeo. They had very good positions in qualifying, but Zhou Guanyu picked the wrong tyres at the start. And that's why he's down in 16th place. Bottas, meanwhile, is on for a point. And look who's 11th again. Mick Schumacher. A second clear of Gasly. And where is... yes, George Russell has retired. I was thinking, where's George Russell for a second? It was very unfortunate for George Russell to retire. He's on a really decent race up to that point. That will send panic stations at Mercedes then. It's not often they have engine failures. Zhou Guanyu just passed Hulkenberg. I think I saw a swap on the time board. Albon has passed Vettel. I think Vettel might be suffering a bit because he's now... I think he's lost to Hulkenberg as well. So Vettel is struggling to even hold off Albon at this point. The Aston Martins certainly have been one of the disappointing outfits of the season along with Alfa Romeo. I'm expecting Aston Martin to be a lot higher at the field than we've seen them so far. I guess that justifies why Vettel's retiring at the end of this season. We've not really talked about that very much. But I think that's really because Vettel just wants to avoid the fuss. You know, he's not really a social media presence. And Charles Leclerc is having his race curtailed here by Williams, and that's Alex Albon. And the other Williams, I would assume, unless they relap the Latifi, because of course the two went into the pits. I think it's Latifi. And again, well, it might be Albon because there's a car ahead, unless that is Verstappen. Mind you, to be fair, Charles Leclerc has now got the hammer down. He had that fastest lap earlier, and now he's brought the gap down to within about 1.5 seconds, just over, to Max Verstappen. And Hamilton is battling with Jackson into turn 1 again. These two are having a lap by lap scrap, and Jackson wins out again. Jackson is so good out of turn 1 into turn 2. Certainly clicking, bringing Jackson out of that corner. Considering Aiden Jackson has never raced here before, he's having a pretty good time of it so far. Others include Zhou Guanyu, who I don't think has raced here before, because in the junior categories they don't really race here, usually. And everyone else has had at least one appearance here. Max Verstappen, of course, for a few years until 2019. Charles Leclerc in 2017 when he debuted. It was 2018 actually, in Alfa Romeo. Carlos Sainz has been here a few years as well. Hamilton won here in his first race here in 2007. It's a shame that Jackson really won in Azerbaijan, because Canada does have a habit of providing first-time winners. Lewis Hamilton in 2007, Robert Kubica in 2008, Jean Alesi in 1995 would be another. I would have said Ralf Schumacher, but his first win was at Imola back in 2001. By the time Michael Schumacher had his first win back in 1994, he'd already won the Belgian Grand Prix of 92 and the Portuguese Grand Prix of 1993, I believe. Canada certainly has a habit of first-time winners, that's for sure. think it was Daniel Ricciardo's first win in, was it 2014? I believe it was. Great shot of Lewis Hamilton. You should really see this camera more often. And we don't see enough of it, sadly. It is a phenomenal view. One of the 360 cameras that you can find on some YouTube videos. You can actually turn the camera yourself. It's quite the superior experience, believe me. As Hamilton is battling with Jackson again, he got really out of shape in the middle of the chicane there. He's probably not lucky not to plough into the wall. And those three that we mentioned in the 1999 race are not the only ones who've crashed. I believe Sebastian Vettel crashed there 1 year as well. I don't think Hamilton has yet. He's had the good luck in the World Champions. I think he's the only world champion to have ever survived crashing into that wall, to be fair. Unless Raikkonen was another one, maybe. Well, we have about 5 laps to go, and Charles Leclerc is certainly keeping Max Verstappen honest in this race. It's not been an absolute classic, sadly, although Aiden Jackson and Lewis Hamilton are providing us with plenty of entertainment in the first couple of corners. How is Audi so much better than Mercedes at the moment? Mercedes have definitely lost a few steps this year, it has to be said. A lot of people the car did raise eyebrows with no side pods, and I wonder if that has been an underlying issue this year. Mercedes will win a race though. Their upgrade packages have certainly made them better. They were almost nowhere in pre-season testing, and in the shakedown test for that matter. They were a little bit better in Bahrain, but not by much. But they're now back towards the front. Since Spain, they've definitely had a good time of it. They've locked up the front row a couple of times, even in Imola, I believe. At least for the sprint race. There was the time when Mercedes locked out the front row and Hamilton scored a pole. So Mercedes certainly have a decent car, but like we said, they've lost a step or two from the dominance they've had before. And we were hoping these new regulations would shake up the playing field, and it has to various degrees, I think. Didn't expect Audi to be this high up. I think that's Jackson's raw race-winning talent that's doing that. But that's no knock on Hulkenberg, because, like we said, he's just had horrible luck this year with PU component changes after qualifying. Meanwhile, he's just passed Tsunoda for P16. He's right in the middle of it today, Nico Hulkenberg. He's certainly there. But, again, it's going to be out of the points for him, unfortunately. His 9th straight non-points finish, since his 8th, rather, since Bahrain. So unfortunate for Hulkenberg. Always one of the best midfield drivers around. You probably could argue could have been in a McLaren or Ferrari roundabout now, but it just didn't work out, really. It seemed that every time he looked on a link to go somewhere, Alonso took the seat first. And side by side between Hamilton and Jackson again. And Hamilton looked a little slow out of that corner. I wonder if he's going to feel the effects of that. Perez was lucky behind Norris here. Jackson is holding his own again, as he remarkably always does, somehow. Now Hulkenberg is actually caught to the back of Zhou Guanyu. Now, Hulkenberg and Zhou Guanyu were both on the soft tyres at the start, but we're going to go back towards 4th place because we've got Hamilton chasing Jackson still. Unfortunately, nothing doing there. With 3 laps to go in this race, we still don't know who's going to finish 4th. I think we know who's going to win. Max Verstappen has brought the gap back up to 2 seconds. This is the newest DRS zone, an opportunity maybe for Lewis Hamilton to close the gap. Close enough. And there's going to be joy unconfined at Alfa Romeo at this very moment, because Bottas is on for another point for Alfa Romeo at the expense of poor Mick Schumacher, who's fallen 9 seconds behind him in the Haas, but he's keeping Gasly behind him. It's been a very good, decent weekend for Haas. It's probably been their best weekend of the season so far, but for all intents and purposes, they have disappointed so far this season, as have Alfa Romeo. The Ferrari C-spec power unit has certainly been the case for the Works team, but their customer teams aren't benefiting from it so much. I think it proves underlining car problems for those two in particular. I mean, credit Haas, it certainly has aided them from the 4 seconds behind that they were last season though, even with Jackson winning that race at Monza. Well, here we are for the penultimate lap, and Max Verstappen has now dropped below 2 seconds to Charles Leclerc, and it's going to mean, unfortunately, nothing for Charles at the moment, because I think Max Verstappen is just pegging his engine. He's probably turned the revs down. I mean, we're solely focused on this battle for fourth because Lewis Hamilton is giving Jackson a fight this afternoon, and that's a fight and a challenge that Jackson has accepted and is currently winning at the moment. Over the last few seasons, there's always been this contract talk around Lewis Hamilton. He's cut the chicane, and he's going to be pressured there by Norris. I don't think Jackson did much wrong there, to be fair. He just defended his position. And meanwhile, on the final lap, we've not really focused on him much because Max Verstappen is doing what he does best, winning a Grand Prix. And it has been all Red Bull recently. Ferrari are challenging, but they're not close enough to him at the moment. It's going to be another win for Max Verstappen. It's back to normal service after Jackson's win in Baku. Max Verstappen, the world champion for 2021, has also been one to avoid the wall of champions, especially in this race. Will he avoid it one more time through the chicane? And he will see the checkered flag. Max Verstappen will win for the Canadian Grand Prix. He is back on the top step, followed by Charles Leclerc. But the question is, who's going to finish fourth? Will it be Aiden Jackson or will it be Lewis Hamilton? Hamilton is at the better of Jackson in this section for the most part, but he's not close enough, I don't think. It might be just right over the line. If Hamilton could get a good exit out of the chicane, he did. He is right there. And it is going to be Jackson just. Oh, and he would have passed him too, because Jackson's exit wasn't as good as Hamilton's. Jackson finishes fourth ahead of Hamilton, Norris, Perez, Ricciardo, Alonso and Bottas. That is your top 10 for today. Mick Schumacher, sadly, yet again, P11. He always seems to be around there, just missing out on the points. Nico Hulkenberg does not score now for the 8th race in a row. That is quite astounding, considering Audi have been there or thereabouts. They even won in Baku as well. And we hate to really put a dampener on it, but I wonder what Audi will be thinking. Will talks be had with Nico Hulkenberg? Because the car has potential to be in the points on a regular basis, and I think it's that's really harming Audi's challenge for possibly third in the Constructors' Championship here. And, oh yes, Charles Leclerc got the fastest lap, so I think the lead for Max in the Championship will be 13 now, instead of 14, because I think there's 7 points between first and second, but Charles got the extra lap bonus points, so that'll be one less for him to worry about. So, Mick Schumacher finishing just about ahead of Pierre Gasly in the end. Kevin Magnussen 13th, 14th is Ocon from 19th on the grid. Not really a good race for Alpine, to be honest, with Alonso in a lowly 9th. Zhou Guanyu and Nico Hulkenberg suffered really because they were on the soft tyres at the start of the race, 15th and 16th. Tsunoda is ahead of Albon. Sebastian Vettel beats his teammate, and this is to see if he is last of the classified finishes a lap down. George Russell was the only retirement today. So the points gap is now, as I said, 13 points between Verstappen and Leclerc. It really does seem between those two in the championship at the moment. Jackson gains a few extra points on Hamilton. I think it's equal points or something. I can't really tell from here, unfortunately. So Schumacher, Zhou Guanyu, Vettel, Tsunoda, Stroll, Albon, Latifi, all still yet to score in 2022. Then, so it's no points for Aston Martin at all, and no points for Williams either. You'd probably expect that, but Aston Martin just continue just to plummet and just not score at all. It's been a very disappointing year for them. Alfa Romeo get an extra point, but stay 8th regardless. And well, it wasn't the most classic Canadian Grand Prix of all time, but that's what happens when your name is Max Verstappen and you're as good as he is. Ferrari double podium, Jackson 4th after a magnificent battle with Hamilton. And up next, I believe, is the British Grand Prix, the homecoming of Lewis Hamilton and Aiden Jackson in particular. Will their battles continue? We'll find out then when Formula 1 returns. It's goodbye here in Montreal.